Glen, there's something called the single action bias, where people take an action, buy a Prius, and they somehow think they have a license that to do other sorts of things.
Yeah.
Or if you eat your vegetables, you can have that nice, ice cream sundae, right?
I do that, yes. Yeah, it's one of the tricks of behavior change, because when human beings process what they want to go do, the actions they want to take, there's an exposure to a risk like climate change, and they want to do something about it. There is an action bias, but the unfortunate reality is it's often a single action. It may not even be sufficient. It might even be insignificant, but there seems to be, wired in our heads, an ability to rationalize that I've done just enough. And so here's a simple example. There was an experiment done a couple years ago, a psychology experiment, where they had two groups. One group who bought some green product online, and then another group who just looked at a green product but didn't actually buy. And then they told the people in the experiment of, well, this is unrelated, but now we're going to have you play this game where it's all about sharing. It's all about money. And actually, this is the unbelievable thing, the people who bought the green product shared less. The people who didn't buy the green product were happy to share. And so you get this single action bias because, frankly, I've done enough for the planet. I'm actually now going to indulge.
Solve global warming for the day, right?
Exactly, it's done.
Chris Jones?
Well, the way single action bias works, we think, is that through cognitive dissonance, that what's happening is that you have a conception about yourself and your actions are not in line with your self-concept. And so that creates this cognitive dissonance. So what do? You want to do the quickest thing you can to alleviate that problem and say that you're kind of are a good person and move on to the next thing. That does happen to some extent, but it only gets you so far. It depends on how much dissonance you've really created, and if you're aware of the issue at all, taking your grocery bag to the store isn't going to get you very far. So there's a countervailing theory that is the foot in the door technique, and this has been actually shown empirically on hundreds of studies. And this is how you kind of counteract single action bias. And the way this works is that once you have taken one action, something really almost magical happens. It changes the way that you think about yourself and your own identity. Whereas before, you were a person who didn't care about energy efficiency. Hey, now I do care about energy efficiency because I put in this compact light bulb. And you're much more likely to take an additional action in the future. And there's been many really very compelling cases of this.
Talk about the lawn sign case.
Well, this is one of my favorite examples, and Robert Cialdini and many other people use this one. So this goes back to 1966, and in fact, we've known about the foot in the door for decades even before that. And what some clever researchers at Stanford did is they went to two different neighborhoods.
Just heard a Cal guy say that? That was pretty interesting.
They're very... We collaborate sometimes.
Good.
We'll give them a break on this one. So they went to these different neighborhoods where traffic was a problem, and they knew that people cared about traffic safety in those neighborhoods. And what they did was they asked one in the control, would you be willing to put this huge billboard on your front lawn asking people to drive safely? It was this ugly thing. It covered up their entire house, basically. You couldn't see it. It was like painted, looked like by school children, on this billboard. Would you be willing to put this on your front lawn? Part of the story, actually, is that 17% of the people did agree to put this horrible thing on their front lawn, surprisingly, but that's not the main story here. So what did they do in the treatment group? They went to another neighborhood, and before they asked about the billboard, they said, would you be willing to put this 3-inch square sticker in your car window that said, would you be willing, please drive safely? Of course, everybody did it, And then they went back to that same group a month later, and they said, oh, well, thank you very much for you obviously care about this issue. Would you be willing to put this billboard in your front lawn that said, please drive safely? 76% of the people agreed to do this really pretty outrageous, seemingly, action, just because they had not only identified with themselves with this issue, but they'd also publicly identified with this issue.
And they saw their peer group, their neighbors do it too, so there's that
That-
social validation of, I'm not going to be the only
there's that.
freak with the, yeah, okay.
I ended up putting a sign in my front lawn just a couple weeks ago because first they asked me to sign a petition. And they said, oh, well, by the way, would you be willing to put this sign in your front lawn? And okay, well, it works. I mean, we use this all the time. Marketers use this all the time. Get your foot in the door with one thing and then a bigger thing later.